and we still can't get justice, people, it's like, okay, you know, we've gone past the line. George Floyd went past the line, but the interesting thing about the George Floyd thing, and you see, because I just felt like it hasn't been an effective program. It's been in existence for a while, and yet
message for today. Today is June 15th, 2020. Time is now 09:02. Today is partly sunny. Temperature is 65 degrees. Expected to go 74 degrees. Visibility is 10 miles an hour. Humidity is 51%. Tuesday meeting, 2100 meeting is on as usual. And Wednesday amateur radio class at 1800 is on. Harlem WEBT after action report is now on YouTube. Put in WEBT after action report 6.15.20. That's WEBT after action report 6.15.20.
To ensure police transparency, accountability, and public safety. This works when you use your power to vote. Yes, elections are still happening on June 23rd. The primary elections previously planned for Congress, State Assembly, and State Senate will be held. In addition, there will be a primary election for one city office, Queensborough President. The vast majority of New York City neighborhoods will have at least one primary election on June 23rd. New York's Democratic presidential primary is on June 23rd, 2020. To find out more about elections happening in your neighborhood, you can go to nyc.pollsitelocator.com. Again, that's nyc.pollsitelocator.com. To vote by mail, you must request a mail-in ballot by submitting an absentee ballot application by tomorrow, Tuesday, June 16, 2020. Once you receive your absentee ballot at the address you included on the application form, fill out the absentee ballot at home using a blue or black ink pen. Mail in your completed ballot by June 23rd to your County Board of Elections using the postage paid envelope you will receive with the ballot and sign the back of the envelope as instructed. For more information, you can call 311 or again, you can go to nyc.pollsitelocator.com. That's NYC.
You're tuned in to GHCR.NYC. Grant House's Community Radio, home of the Community News Service, and the soul
offering grants to small businesses who struggle to reopen amid the economic devastation caused by COVID-19. According to PR Newswire, on Thursday, June 11th, Lowe's Company Incorporated opened its first round of grant applications for its $25 million commitment to provide much-needed relief to minority-owned businesses. Lowe's donation is aimed at providing assistance to historically underserved communities. The local initiative support corporation, LISC, the nation's largest community development organization, will manage the process of vetting applications for grants that will bring critical aid to minority and women-led small businesses. Quote, "The need for this kind of relief is overwhelming," end quote, said LISC President and CEO Maurice A. Jones. He noted that when LISC began offering small business rapid relief grants in April 2020, more than 50,000 businesses applied in just the first 4 days. Another 200,000 applied for subsequent funding. Two-thirds of the initial applications are businesses owned by minorities, veterans, and women. 40% are in distressed locations, and nearly half have been in business for more than 10 years. Lowe's has pledged a total of $50 million to support communities during the pandemic, including providing more than $10 million in essential protective products for medical workers, purchasing $1 million worth of flowers from small business growers to be donated and delivered to senior living facilities for Mother's Day, and providing personal protective equipment to minority businesses reopening. To apply for the Lowe's grant, please visit LISC, that is Lima, India, Sierra, Charlie, LISC.org/Lowe's, LOWES. WHCR salutes Lowe's for supporting the small business community. Categories open for Phase 1 include construction, agricultural, forestry, fishing, and hunting, retail, limited to curbside or in-store pickup or drop-off, manufacturing, and wholesale trade. For any work occurring indoors, no more than one worker per 250 square feet is allowed on-site unless additional personal protective measures are implemented. The number of workstations and employee seating areas may be modified so that workers are at least 6 feet apart.
Grant houses, community radio, the source of the Upper West Side.
Signs must be posted throughout the site, consistent with DOH COVID-19 signage. In-person gatherings must be limited to the greatest extent possible. For example, video or teleconferencing must be used. Non-essential visitors on site should be prohibited. In addition to necessary personal protective equipment, acceptable face coverings must be provided. Regular cleaning and disinfection of worksite must be conducted. To download the 53-page New York Forward Return to Work package, go to ny.gov and type in New York Forward Return to Work. This is Keziah Glow for WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Coed 1, thank you. Network control, that's the cop. Coed 1 is out.
Start to share some of the information that I have about that, but it certainly fits in terms of what I'm seeing in terms of even so, you know, there's a doctor who I've been following since early on. Her name is Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she has a website called Found My Fitness Medical Industry. When they have a month, so you know, we recommend that people look, first of all, look at the zip code map to see what.
You know, he wasn't home with anybody, even though he had said that he would like to just go right on home, and he would be okay. Some crazy, unknown reason,
Queens Road between 242nd and Petefield. Your situation is normal. This network control standing by. And I'm glad that you're back on the hit. You ought to try your radio sometime. You're right about that, network control. This is Renee Jones standing by to the 1000th hour.
Economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned places where we built Black economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned our stores, where we owned our property, and they burned them to the ground. So that's 450 years. So for 400 rounds of Monopoly, you don't get to play at all. Not only do you not get to play, you have to play on the behalf of the person that you're playing against. You have to play and make money and earn wealth for them, and then you have to turn it over to them. So then for 50 years, you finally get a little bit and you're allowed to play. And every time that they don't like the way that you're playing, or that you're catching up, or that you're doing something to be self-sufficient, they burn your game. They burn your cards. They burn your Monopoly money. And then finally at the release and the onset of that, they allow you to play and they say, okay, now you catch up. Now at this point, the only way you're going to catch up in the game is if the person shares the wealth, correct? But what if every time you share the wealth, then there's psychological warfare against you to say, oh, you're an equal opportunity hire. So if I played 400 rounds of Monopoly with you and I had to play and give you every dime that I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood. How can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the fuck do I give a shit about burning the fucking Football Hall of Fame, about burning a fucking Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give a fuck. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own by our bootstraps in Tulsa, and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so fuck your Target.
You're tuned in to GHCR, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service.
And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what Black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
Areas are looking at different ways to approach this thing. It looks like Minneapolis is definitely going ahead with some sort of way to literally replace the police department they have now, which makes sense because it's not working. And there's a lot of hot button talk around the phrase defund the police, which in most situations doesn't mean get rid of the police force, but that's where people are going to take it. It just really means reallocate police budgets, that have been over militarized, and repurpose some of those dollars to more effective means of conflict resolution. And just like here in New York, for example, 911 should never send police out for a mental health emergency. We already have a mechanism in place from the Department of Health to deal with it. So, there should never be a situation where somebody has mental health issues and the police go and shoot the victim. Because we don't need the police in those scenarios. We actually have the resources to deal with that. So, I think things like that are things that need to be looked at, not just locally, but nationally. Because we have too many situations where police come and then, you say when you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, and so when you have a gun, every problem looks like a target. And I think that is a kind of a simplistic but very true statement of the problem that we have in too many police encounters across this country.
Well, Stu, what you didn't know about Seattle, Stu, is that in the movie, like in the TV show, The Wire, they out of the guy who's one of your friends, by the way, so the guy who played the detective, the police commander, he had let those guys sell their drugs in a certain area. Mm-hmm. And in Seattle, the people took over a 6-block area currently where they have, kind of isolated, and the mayor has decided that would be a good area for people to protest. So, in the other part about what Bob was saying, I thought it was quite interesting that when people said defund the police, all of a sudden, all of these highly educated white people and the like don't know what the fuck defund means all of a sudden. All of a sudden, they think they're trying to say defund means something other than what it means. Defund means taking away some of the money. And they're trying to make it seem that, we're going to get rid of all the police, all this, and, it's totally ridiculous. I don't think anybody's, I think they're trying to reconfigure the police so they stop killing one certain particular group of people and maybe turn the police officers into peace officers. Mm-hmm. So I found it interesting that all of a sudden no one knows what defund means. They should ask somebody black, because we've been defunded for about 400 years. They should ask us. Yeah. Yeah. So, doesn't that seem a little disingenuous to anybody, or is it just me?
Well, I'm not sure I'd use that word, but yes, I mean,
use your words, too.
They are reacting to their fear, and their fear is that we are going to take away all your money and lock you guys up. I mean, metaphorically, they are so guilty in terms of what they have perpetrated of all these years, if not centuries, that now the righteous indignation of the people is rising up, and they're terrified. And they're terrified that, yes, they will be out of business, even though maybe we didn't say that specifically. That is their deep-seated fear. And to my mind, that's what they're reacting to.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, Bob, you got a bright light behind your right shoulder that's really kind of distorting your image.
That's my halo.
Oh, that's what I thought. I was going to say that. Okay.
See if I can get a better angle here.
My halo.
Oh, you don't have one of those, huh?
No. Can't even spell it. Let alone have one. Wow. Yeah, this is a pretty big halo.
Yeah.
Somebody
walk toward the light. Walk toward the light.
Yeah, just to get back to your point, though, I think that's their guilt and their fear.
Yeah, because they know what the word means. They know, like, it harken back to the, our WHCR interview of the then New York City Controller, John Liu, who came on the air and made it clear about where funding went. And, once he did that, for me, I was not surprised. Some said they were, that the police had a $6 billion budget, when John Liu came on there and explained to all of us that that the city has a $90 billion every 12-month budget. And I thought we were all, this was, back when John Liu was the controller, and we were all stunned, at least I was, that anybody could figure out how to spend that much money in 12 months. That's just a tremendous amount of cash that's spent every 12 months. And then he further told us, he further verified that the Department of Education had a $27 billion a year budget. And of course, subsequently, the $28,187 that they spend per year per student, which we all talked about a couple of weeks ago. And then he mentioned, on top of that, the $17 billion a year, every 12 months, that the city spends on discretionary services and products.
Mm-hmm.
And then when one of Brother Leroy's moderators, co-hosts, Brother Leroy's co-host asked about the discrepancy with the MWBE program. At your place, Mark? Yeah. And what people were getting, the MWBE program, which is their little four-door Negro racist program, in my opinion. And he said, well, he asked the controller, well, how come women get more than black men? And he said, and the controller took a little umbrage. He said, well, we could talk about that. He said, but that's just crumbs. He said, guess who gets 98% of it? White men. And we were all stunned. He said, I'm the controller. I sign every check. Now, the interview, I'm going to send you the link to it, Bob. The interview is there. He said this himself, not making any of this up. And he said, I sign every check. I know who's getting what. And he said, listen, we could talk about women getting, 50% of the 2%, because all the rest of us that are of color, we're all 1%ers in terms of the city's budget. And the controller said, we are not getting our fair share. He didn't say you, he said we, because he's Asian. He was an Asian guy at the time. It still is, obviously. And he mentioned that, and we did some research and found out that, the people who are winning all the time make up roughly 25% of the population in the city. So 25% of the population in the city, white men, get 98% of the discretionary money that the city spends. That's $17 billion. And the 2%, half of the 2% go to white women, and the other half go to all the rest of us. And I thought the interesting thing was, how could a white guy be a minority, a non-minority, and his mother and his daughter and his sister's a minority? Now that ain't racism. I don't know what else is. This is today in New York City, right now. If you were a white person and you went down to the city of New York to do business, they would say, okay, you go in one door and your mother is a minority. Your sister is a minority. And then they have a little program for the Negroes so that you would go in and agree to certify yourself so that you would only get 15%, possibly 15%. It's not even mandated. It's not even mandatory. It's the largesse. And how does me and Stu know that? Because they slipped up once and gave us over $1 million contract, and it was a non-minority, and that was given to us by the only Black governor in the history of the state of New York. And that had to be some confluence of luck, if there ever was one, Stuart.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, that we would actually be in a position to benefit from something from the only Black governor who they ran out of town after 1 year. They was not having that. It
was a stroke of luck that he became governor. I mean, it was only because the guy before him, Elliot Spitzer, had screwed up so much that as I guess he was deputy governor, David Patterson. He got moved into position when the governor got ousted.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, I mean that was a stroke of luck for so many of us that happened. And then that Patterson had such an expansive view of how the government should be helping people of color As Doug didn't say, probably was about to say, we originally got ignored and rejected under this grant program when Spitzer was in charge. Patterson became the governor. Somehow they resurrected our application and called us up some 6 months after we had submitted and asked, were we still interested?
Well,
And of course we were, and we performed. But that was, pure luck that Patterson came in and that we were in the right place at the right time.
Well, still, if you recall at the time, you said resurrection. I said they went in the garbage can and got it.
Okay, well, resurrection means you're dead and you come back to life.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, we had it. So we had this contract that was non-minority, and it caused so much consternation amongst the white people in the state that they gave Stu and I an award for being the MWBEs of the state's MWBEs of the month, and gave us a write-up when we've never ever been in that.
You weren't MWBEs.
We never been in that program.
Never were.
And the reason why we refused to be in the program when they first approached us, I asked the guy who was trying to sell us on it, the white guy, I said, when he was acting like he was doing us a great favor, I said, well, let me see the winner. Who's the winners? Let me see the winners of the program. Let me see, you got a $90 billion a year budget. Let me see the 4 or 5 black people who have, or women or whatever, who have contracts over $50 million. They don't have anybody. So we said, yo, we ain't signed up for that shit. And we kept it moving. Because, there's one thing for me to be like the famous professor always says, there's one thing to be a slave and to be going along with stuff. It's a whole other thing for me to stick my hands out and let you handcuff me so I can be a part of that. And we just didn't think that made any sense. And if you go to the EDCs, they have when you go to the Economic Development Corporation, which is the program that promulgates this racist Negroism. I don't know why anybody would go along with it. And I don't want to show my anger, but I am angry about just that they have a program like that, and people haven't even been smart enough to figure out how we get shitted on by them. And when you go to their website, they have as soon as you come on the page, it says, we're going to help you get a job. And I said to myself, there's 40 million people who have no work. How come the fuck they ain't helping under them? 40 million people out of work, and you go to the Economic Development webpage and they say, we got jobs. They ain't got shit. And when you go to see who's running it, guess who's running it? You think somebody black is running it? No. So then they got a big page on there that says MWBE. And if anybody really examined that program, they're asking you to sign up for maybe 15%, and they put a limit on how much money you can make as an MWBE. So you can only make up to $3 million to $5 million on a contract, where Mr. Whitey can go in there, the white person can go in there and he can make untold amount of money. There's no limit on him. He's not even being asked to certify. And people think that's a good damn idea.
Now, Doug, watch your blood pressure.
Thank you, Bob. Hey, Bob, I'm better now, Bob. I'm better now.
Self-care, bro. Self-care.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is such when just really back. Really
Makes you want to holler, right?
No. When the controller came on there, he actually said, people have all kinds of theories about what's going on with the money. And when the actual controller came on that, we had never known that up until that point. We had no way to verify how much money the city spent. You hear it, but I don't think people take into account what $90 billion is every 12 months. I don't think.
And interestingly enough, Doug, let me just interject. The city had never put that information out there either. So it was not public information. There was nowhere to go to find it until John Liu came in and started publishing it as a controller. It was a revolutionary move by him.
And here's an interesting thing. We interviewed 2 of the candidates who are running for borough president right now, both city council people. And I asked both of them and we have it on our YouTube site, I asked both of them, how is it that they both were white, by the way, and I asked them, how is it that they went down to do business with the city. Their mother is a minority and they're not. I asked both of them that pointedly. One of the guys said, you know, I mentioned 17 billion. He corrected me and said, "Oh, it's not 17 billion anymore. This year is 16." And then he tried to mention the MWBE program, which I told him to shut his face and don't talk to me about that in a nice way. And he said, then he went politician and said, "Well, you know, I think all that is wrong. It's discriminatory." The second guy that we had on there, both of these guys are current city council people. The second, and they're both on our YouTube channel, both of these interviews. And the second guy came on there when I asked him the same question about how he could go down there and he's not a minority and his mother is. He said to me, his mother doesn't do construction work. And he thought that was funny. And then we sat in the studio and I said, "Well, no one's laughing." I said, "Maybe when you take this shit seriously, come back to the studio and then, you know, when you have a serious answer, then talk about it." He actually said that he thought it was a joke. He said, "Well, you know, my mother doesn't do construction." So this is how serious they think this is. And so the point that drives me crazy, Bob, is that the money belongs to everyone in the city. It's supposed to be for the benefit of the city. And they do anything but that. And so when you think about the police brutality, people need to get their hands around the economic brutality that they're fostering on everyone but them. And I think that, you know, I thought that was an amazing thing. And it's no wonder why people are going mad out here when, you know, you have an economic system that only works for a very small group of people. And then they have the timidity, that's what those students were, whatever that word is. So they have the nerve to have a program that has you signing up to be an economic slave. Now, maybe people didn't know that. Maybe a lot of people signed up for that program and didn't know that. But the reason why I was thinking that, I used to be a basketball player, and, you know, I used to hang around with the guys in the NBA. So you hear a lot of contract talk. And so you understand what it is, what a contract's about, and who's giving it, and what it means, and how much you can get, and not to mention our entrepreneurial experience and spending 11 years with the Black Harvard MBAs at the venture capital firm as entrepreneurs in residence. We learned a lot about economics, more than probably most normal people. So I would have to say a lot of that stuff we picked up from them. And so you have a way of analyzing situations when somebody tells you about an opportunity, you kind of look at it through the prism of this venture capital stuff. And, you know, that was why I asked those particular questions. You know, well, what was the value proposition? What was in it for us? Well, who are the people who have benefited from the program? And they can't answer that. They can't answer anything. And if anybody, like I said, you examine that program, they limit you by signing up. You limit yourself to how much you can make. And why would you do that? And if you have, like Charles Barron said, you have 51 members, 51 of the majority of the members of the city council who control the budget are non-white. And they lord over the budget, and they have a racist program like that and have something called Economic Development Corporation, and it's run by a white guy. And it's always been run by a white guy. And what kind of economic development is if they ask everybody to be an economic slave and sign up and ask you to sign to do that, and they don't ask everybody else to sign? And when I asked the guy down there, well, how come the white guys aren't signing up for it? Didn't have an answer for that, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So every time
the answer is they are.
Well, think about this, Bob.
Their wives and mothers.
Well, think about that, Bob. I'm just saying that again. In the city of New York in 2020, if you go to do business with the city and you're a white guy, you're not asked to sign anything or designate yourself anything. They have a very special program for everyone who's not white. And the majority of the contracts go to white men. Now, I used to be a basketball player. If we was going to a game and the team that we were playing against had everything rigged, including the referees and everything else, we wouldn't go to those games. We would stop going because the shit's rigged. We would stop going. Even if we would go to games, even if we knew the team was superior to us, and we knew that they wasn't going to let us win. That's all part of the game. Nobody's trying to let nobody win. But we would still go to get to the game and fight for a victory. But when we saw that things were rigged, we didn't show up. Now, why people are going down there and allow them to take the money that belongs to all of us and use it that way, I don't know. That was the moment of silence.
You're tuned in to GHCR.NYC, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service, and the soul of the Upper West Side.
Oh, I like that. I like that tagline, the soul of the Upper West Side.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, Bob, I need your reaction. Doug and I have talked about this topic, the MWBE thing. I'm sick of even, discussing the concept. I'm wondering what your reaction is. Are you as outraged as us, or do you have another take on it?
No, I mean, pretty much the same. I've never gone down that road because I just felt like it hasn't been an effective program. It's been in existence for a while, and yet, Black and minority entrepreneurship has not really benefited from it. They obviously have opened it up in a way so that we don't really get the money. It started out as a Black program, but once they started making it women and all these other entries into the program, and then they end up getting, disproportionate shares of that. And then, we just, it seems to just shut us out of the actual big contracts. So it's a way that, city government, state government.
You're tuned in to GHCR, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service.
I probably don't have as much information as you guys, so I would probably be just as outraged as Doug.
I'll send you an email, Bob, with a syllabus of how they do it and where you can go to see it for yourself.
Oh, so you want to try to raise my blood pressure up yours? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, Bob, because you don't need Stu's right. It's just that, this has been going on. We found out about this 6 or 7 years ago, and we've been talking about it, and nobody fucking seemed to care. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. So that's the only reason why I think my blood pressure is, you get a man who comes in, puts his Black family out there like he knows what's going on, and he's just like all the rest of them. So,
I think the thing though is right now we have to kind of take the information we have and really look at how do we apply it now, because we are definitely we're in a moment. I don't know how long the moment is last, but people, there are things that are happening, changes on a lot of different levels. Some of them are superficial and some of them are profound, but people feel the need to represent that they are doing something now. So now is the time we need to really think about, well, what is it that we're asking for? Even if we've asked for it in the past, it's time to ask again with the facts and with a concise representation of what the problem is and see what happens, because everybody right now is scrambling to be seen that they're on the right side of history. So we need to remind people just where the line is to be on the right side.
Yeah, Bob, I think it's time to make some demands. I'm harkening back to the 60s, and we didn't ask, we demanded. One, A, B, C, D. It's time to make some demands.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you can't ask the person who's been kicking you, and you start connecting the dots. There's a reason you can start to realize why it would be beneficial to those who are economically benefiting for the humongous trough of money that's available here in the city. Why they would want the police force to be beating the shit out of people so they're not looking at certain things. I'm not saying that is the case, but Sure seems like it. If you're getting the crap beat out of you and you're getting being militarized by the police, you're not going to be thinking about somebody who's using the money like a bunch of drunken sailors. $90 billion every 12 months, Bob. Think about the enormity of that money. Think about the logistics of just trying to spend that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, Bob. And then they turn around and I'll use the example of the Hudson Yards. They spent $3.5 billion building a subway station down there in cash. Yet the New York City Housing Authority's budget is $3.5 billion, and they ask for subsidies from the federal government. Think about that, man. Think about how they are controlling the budget. Think about that the police force, the command structure of the police force is 90% white men in New York City. Think about that the police force across the United States is 75% white. They have figured out how to take people and use the police to keep people in a constant state of fear while they're spending the money that they take from every last one of us. And so to go in there, and I think Stu's right, to go in there and start asking them for shit is craziness.
What do you guys think about the Eric Garner bill?
I think that they should take and tar and feather maybe de Blasio, because it took them 5 years to do anything about that guy. And that guy, and there was 5 cops who were involved. 4 of them are still working on the police force. And the guy who killed him is working for the New York City Housing Authority, making over $100,000 a year. So what do you think about the bill, Bob?
I'm glad that it happened. It is a travesty that it took somebody else in another state getting killed, shouting the same thing to create enough political pressure for all of a sudden something to be done in literally days. But you know, it's a step forward, and you know, it's typical of de Blasio, who is he's just mediocre. You know, he's not, he's not as bad as some of the officials down south, but he's not good. He's not good at anything. He plays the race card with his family. But what has he actually delivered for our communities?
Nothing.
Nothing.
He's no different than the rest of them.
Yeah.
And again, it's funny. I went with my daughter graduated from she went and got a beautician's license, and the program was up at Bronx Community. And the city council person from the area came up, and she got up and said, "Oh, I'm sorry I'm late, but I was downtown, and we just approved a budget of $90 billion." And she wanted people to clap for that. And I was like sitting there looking at my son and saying, well, what do we get now? She thought that was a good idea, that she was downtown participating in a $90 billion budget, $90 billion every 12 months, and we got nothing. And she got up there and wanted to be applauded because she participated in that. I'm taking my blood pressure pill right now, Bob. Hey, Bob, I think I'm gonna have 2. But seriously speaking, Bob, it's incomprehensible that they have not. I mean, when you look at how we're being treated by the police, why wouldn't you realize that they have treated us equally as bad economically? Mm-hmm. And the one group who has money to fix things are the governments. And New York City is one of the biggest. New York City's budget is bigger than some African countries. There are African countries that don't have $90 billion every 12 months. So people need to get their hand around the number. If they wanted to do it, if they had a will to do a lot of things, they could. But the asking part, I think that's. I'm glad we got these young people out there because they're not asking. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to work, Paul. That hasn't worked. Just like you said that the program that they put in hasn't worked, going in and asking them to do what's right, that hasn't worked, Bob. And I say that respectfully, without any hyperbole and all this other stuff, and without my blood pressure going up. That stuff just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked, and they haven't been cognizant. And as soon as John Lew said that, you see what they did to him.
Yeah. What is he doing now, anyway?
He's a state senator.
Oh, okay.
See what they did to him. They ran him out of town, just like they did Patterson. If you tell the truth about what they're doing, what they used to do is use the media to do that. Now they can't do it because we're the media. And we're getting to tell people, look, hey, guess what's going on? Now, you don't have to believe us, because look, everybody look at the news and think of what Blasio is doing. They have a $6 billion shortfall because of what they had to do to help the people. Instead of him deciding that he has to go cut something, he's looking for ways to borrow money to cover it. Because who has he promised that money to?
Yeah, he's got a lot of promises.
So that's $6 billion. That's right. That's $6 billion that's not going to be on the table. And guess what? We ain't in on none of it. They got us going through the poor door and trying to get us to be excited. We're being conned. We've been conned. They've been conning the people. And I don't think they've earned the respect of people going to them and say, look, you got to do this right. They know what they're doing, man. They're not, you don't spend $90 billion a year and you don't know who you cutting out. And then they taking the money out of your pocket, Bob, out of the guy on the corner's pocket, and they think you have no right to it. And as long as you keep going and asking for stuff, they're going to tell you, oh, you can't do it. So that's where we are.
All right.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then again, I don't have the answer to it, but I know systemic economic racism when I feel it. And that's what so we're not only suffering from the systemic racism of the police force, where there's systemic racism all over the place because it's built in. And I'm not saying that those people who are lording over these places are evildoers and, are slave masters and all that. They don't have to be, Bob. The system is already set up. They don't have to be any of that. You know what I mean? They don't have to be evil, mean people to promulgate something that has worked for them. They don't have to be evil and no good. Now, I don't know if people feel like that about the police. Some of their maneuvers. But in the economic arena, those people don't have to be like mean people who are hating or even know they're doing it. Why would they care? We're winning. Like the record says, win, 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 win. They're winning. And they're suffering. If nothing else, they're suffering from the winning-itis. We're winning, and I would attribute it to. In my mind, I could attribute it just to that. It doesn't have to be anything nefarious about it, other than we're winning.
Winning-itis. That's nice. You coined a new word here. You're on fire this morning.
Well, hey, Bob, I would like to see that. We would. I take Stu's position. After when somebody like the city controller walks in and says, hey boys, guess what? And again, I'm gonna send you the link so you can hear it for yourself. My brother Leroy interviewed him on WHCR after me cajoling or telling him we should get this guy, and he did it. And after you hear the words come out of his mouth, and he had a website at the time that showed you who was giving out what city, all the city agencies and what contracts they were giving out, and you wouldn't believe this. At that time, when we looked at it, the fire department was spending more money with minorities than everyone else. And the fire department was under fire at that time for being racist. So they wouldn't let anybody black work there. And the fire department spent more money with black people than the small business agency, the business services, EDC, all of them. They don't spend any money with us, Bob. They don't do that. We don't get any of this pie that's given out. We don't get any of it. And we should be ashamed of ourselves for sticking our hands out and letting them put the economic handcuffs on us. We should be ashamed of ourselves for that. All of us. Me included. I'm ashamed of myself, man. I'm ashamed for that, man. There was, hey, Bob, there was a moment. That was a moment right there, Bob. Let the church say amen.
I think that was a big amen there, Dougie.
Thank you, guys. Well, I'm hoping, Bob, this is my hope, Bob. I'm hoping that by getting the information out there to people, people like yourself and others, because I know you're a guy that, understands things, and maybe people will start looking at those things and demand that something be done about it, not ask. That would make me happy. No matter what the outcome would be, I would just like to see people demanding that they be treated properly and be treated like partners and not like economic slaves. That's what I would like to see.
And I'm back.
Okay, I would echo that, Doug, and I think we're starting to see that. Bob, what Doug just said is he's looking forward to the day when we begin to demand what is our due as opposed to asking. And I'm just giving a rump on that and saying that looking across the landscape of what's going on now with the young people, I think that is starting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to find a way that we can help young folks with information and strategy, and then let them do what they're doing, because we're definitely at a time where there is a recognition that we're not taking this anymore. And then there's that, there's a fear about the power of, this is the fear that white America has had since we got here, is that at some point in time, we're just going to say enough is enough, and then we're not going to be nice about it. Mm-hmm. And this is why we've always been, marginalized with these narratives about thugs and lawlessness and all that stuff. It just really ties into the fear of retribution, that the righteous retribution that we deserve, that we would actually come to collect it. And if we keep going the same way, that is absolutely going to happen. So yeah, now is definitely the time for us to get our shopping list together, our agendas together, and make sure that we present them. And we got to do it on a few different fronts. We got to shore up this Democratic Party. They're a mess. They are an absolute mess. When I saw them in the Capitol, in Capitol Hill, taking a knee with all of them wearing kente cloth, and it's like, what is this bullshit?
Yeah.
What is this symbolic gesture? We're not interested in symbolic gestures from lawmakers. We're interested in laws. That's the one reason why, as much as I feel like the Eric Garner bill was late, but it happened quickly, so I got to give them credit that they did it. Now, this is what we need. We're in a democratic city, democratic state, and we have to use that advantage to make sure that things actually happen that have an impact. And you're absolutely right. So when we talk about that 90 billion, it means that we need to be able to apply the pressure to our local, city, and state elected officials on how things are being allocated, on where we do have influence, we've got to use it.
Bob, they don't fear us, Bob. The elected officials do not fear us, Bob. When I have approached them and tried to talk about it, and not in the same manner that I have spoken with the truth, because I'm just being more of myself when I'm talking to you and Stu. So, in a more, congenial kind of manner, informational wise. And here's the kind of things they say. We're going to go down there and help them and make them be more fair. I mean, what? They're going to go down there. These handkerchief head Negroes are going to go downtown to the white people who tells them what to do, and they're going to be more fairer, and make sure that the MWBE program is more fair to us. What? When they have a program that, again, that allows one group of people to have their mothers and daughters to be minorities, but not the sons. And so, and they benefit from that. And people sign up for that shit. And so we need to get people in there who are going to go down there and put this shit on the table. This is what we got to have. And we need to get rid of the people who ain't going to do that. We need to stop voting for people like they are buddies. We need to be shopping for democracy, man. That means economic democracy. That as well as the police stop messing with you. The reason why the police are messing with you so it helps protect them and their economic grab. And people need to tie the two together. And they need to understand that. And there's no going to be fair with them. They've been doing this shit forever, Bob. Why would we go to them and ask them or demand that force them to be short? We need to get rid of the guys who don't get this. You don't think they know that? You don't think all of the public officials who go down there work on the budget every year, they don't know what's going on with the budget? And they come to us and they get in our face and act like they're doing something? Then also, I'm just saying, Bob, you can't tell me they don't know it. I can see why you don't know, Bob. I can see why the regular Joe Blow on the street don't know, Bob. I never said that. I see why me and Stu do know it, because we just made it our business to know. We're just busybodies. But those people who we have elected, they've known it all along, Bob, including de Blasio, including the Democratic Party. And they're the ones that are doing it to us. The Democratic Party are the ones who are doing it to us. And I'm not taking the blood pressure pill on that one.
Well, they're certainly the agents. There's no doubt about it. The elected officials are, in my mind, they're so much more the agents of the moneyed interests than they are agents of the people. And if you just look back at the history of policing in this country, particularly as it relates to Black folks, the police were put in place to contain the slaves. And initially, early on, pre-Civil War, they were the slave catchers. They would round up slaves that were able to escape and send them back down south. And post-Civil War, white America was scared to death about Black folks. So the police were put in to contain us and control us. And even though it looked like there was going to be some reform after during Reconstruction, all that got reversed. Jim Crow came in, and we had another 100 years of enslavement, economically and politically. And whenever we were able to get ourselves together economically, you had things like the bombing of Tulsa, where they came in and slaughtered thousands of Black folks, dropped bombs from airplanes to destroy the economic base that we had created, the self-sustaining economy that we had created. And Tulsa was just one example. There were others across the country where we were able to do this. But what happened? White folks rioted. Now, when you look back at the history of rioting in this country, for the most part, until the 1960s, it was always white folks rioting. And they were rioting against the advancement of Black folks. They were rioting, tearing down Black establishments and positive stuff that Black folks had built. White folks rioting, tearing that down. And that was the police. The authorities just sat back and more or less let that happen. It wasn't until the 60s when Black folks started rioting ourselves against all the tyranny that we had endured for the last 150 years that the police state then moved in and started to contain Black rioting. So the police have always been there to contain us, to control us. And I think you're absolutely right. I don't know if it was Doug or Bob that said earlier that they've been fearing the righteous indignation and retribution and revenge that Black folks could and may yet perpetrate upon them for the last 150, 200 years, or really 400 years, for what they have done to us and continue to do to us. So is that fear that fuels their policing of us.
So I just want to correct something just right quick. You know, and this is only in deference to my professor in college, Dr. Heron. There have been black riots going back to 1917 when there was a riot in Harlem in 1917 because a World War I soldier was shot by a white cop because he had on the uniform. So there have been black riots throughout the last century up until now. There's a very
But what he said was that most riots were white.
No, I agree. I just wanted to throw that in there. I just wanted to.
Because the truth is that most of the time, because we have, you know, somehow believed in the constitutional right of peaceable assembly, is that we start out with peaceable assembly, and then when black people riot, it always comes after, you know, it went across the line and we can't take it anymore. Right. Remember in '63, we're walking across Selma peacefully, we're the ones getting rioted on. In '68, when King got shot, it's like, oh no, you know, crossed the line. When Rodney King, you know, caused riots, it's like enough. You know, when we see the video evidence and we still can't get justice, people, it's like, okay, you know, we've gone past the line. George Floyd went past the line, but the interesting thing about the George Floyd thing, and you see it coming out now, but not really being highlighted in the media, is that you see them now, you know, arresting people for like burning down the person who burned down the firehouse, you know, or rather the police precinct in Minnesota was white. Person who set fire to the Wendy's, white. You know, we're finding that all the so-called thuggish acts of you know that are happening were done by white people who came to the protest. So, you know, that doesn't really seem to play, you know, too strong in the mainstream media, but you know, this is what we're seeing. And, you know, going back to what we're talking about in Seattle, if we had an autonomous zone, if we created that zone here in Harlem, that thing would last about 15 minutes. You know, they've
done that before, Bob. You know, before they built the state office building, I'm just going to go back a little bit. When they built the state office building, before they built that, remember there was a whole tech city built on that site where people had decided that they were going to go there and live in order to fight Pataki or Nelson Rockefeller, whoever was trying to build the state office building. And what they did was to get to clear it out, they went and people also took over what was then Sidnam Hospital. So they went over there and the police attacked the people at Sydenham and everybody ran over there. Then they came and knocked down the tent city that is now the state office building. I'm saying that to say that those kinds of things that you're talking about has happened, but like you said a couple of shows ago, we didn't have the camera. See, you hit the nail on the head, Bob, with that one. We didn't have the camera, and like you said that, I never forgot that you said that. Because we now have the camera, all of that stuff is now relevant. All of the stuff that's being done currently, people are seeing that, and it's documented, and they can be able to go back to it. We didn't have that in the '60s. In the '60s, you didn't have the ability to go look at something that happened 10 minutes ago, let alone 5 years ago. You couldn't, it was impossible. But now you can. And now the cumulative effect of people being able to see what's going on and know that there have been people who have been complicit in keeping this kinds of stuff, this economic slavery going, the police thing going, all of it fits a pattern. If you dig what I mean, it's all a pattern. Because they don't, nothing just happens by accident. And so they're promulgating the way that keeps certain people on top. Now, I'm not going to say it's nefarious. I'm going to use Stu's term. It's systemic.
I don't think that people, everybody, all the white men are bad and all this. I don't think any of that. I think that this is a systemic system, and the people who have benefited from it, they don't see any reason to stop doing what they're doing. It's not their fault. That's what they say. That's what they rationalize to themselves. It's not their fault. And as long as the police are out there attacking one group of people and making them look like criminals, that's what people are going to think. And if it wasn't for the media that we have now, people would not even know that, like the thing in Atlanta. I mean, come on, they could have just took that guy in the car and took him home. There was no reason to arrest the guy and breathalyze the guy who's sitting in his car.
You're tuned in to GHCR, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service.
So it's all part of a pattern that allows that they're using. I'm talking about the system, not even any people. This is the way the system works. You know, you look at the Blasio goes in there and he acts like a white guy. Mm-hmm. This is what white guys do. This is what we do. The police look at the black people and go, this is what we do. We arrest them. And then we've had encounters with the police. I've had the police, you know, I'm a senior citizen. I had the police tell me to turn around and get against the wall. Of course, I wouldn't do it. And I remember when I turned around and said, I'm not doing that. And I remember in my head, I was going, did I just say that? But I wasn't going for it because there were black cops that asked everybody against the wall. So I knew, you know, I just looked at the black guy and I said, man, I'm old enough to be his dad. You talk to your father like that? And you can see all of his police shit. Oh, wow. Me and Stu was in a car, and Stu dropped me in front of my house, and we had dropped the lady off, coming from WACR. We dropped the lady off, then she was the producer of the show at the time. We dropped her off, and we drove, and we only had to go a couple of blocks from my house. I was sitting in the back seat. We got to front of my building. I was talking to, so I went to get out the car, and two black cops pulled up behind me and Stu, and they got out the car, and they told me to get back in the car. I said, I'm not doing it. He said, yeah. He said, we do. The guy said, we the police. I said, do you talk? I said, I'm old enough to be your father.
You're tuned in to GHCR.NYC, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service, and the soul of the Upper West Side.
You have to understand that they have all taught these things, and there's a purpose to everything. And the purpose is for one group to win economically. I don't even think it's anything else. You know, you can look at it any way you want to interpret it. But if you look at that, you might have a chance of saying, you know, well, this thing could be resolved. You know what I mean? If you're looking at people and saying, look, there's no way that it's sustainable that you keep winning all the time, because when you win all the time, someone else keeps losing all the time. And that's unsustainable to have one group of people always losing. So I think if you look at it in terms of winning and losing, you have a better chance of getting people to realize, yeah, okay, maybe we should do some winning. Okay. It's not, forget about who's a mean, evil, no good person. You know, that's all personality. Who's winning, who's losing? Got to keep score. I think we have a chance if we look at it like that. Then you ain't gonna need your blood pressure medicine, but a little bit then, you know what I mean? Because then you can, those are definable. Winning is definable. You know what I mean? How do you define stopping racism? How do you define stopping systemic racism? It's a big question. Mm-hmm. Stu's right and you're right. It can't be answered. It can't be answered in a way that's going to satisfy everyone. But if you talk about who's losing and who's winning, then people start getting a little rigid.
I think you're right, Doug, because what you're saying, you're focusing on outcomes and results.
Yes.
I think that's where we need to look.
Yep. That way you ain't getting all crazy, because everybody got their personal reason for not liking something. You know, whatever it is, you got, like my kids. One of my kids don't eat shrimp. One of my kids do. One of my kids don't like chocolate. The other one do. You know, everybody's got their.
Wait, what's wrong with your kids, man? How did they not like chocolate or shrimp? Now you got my blood pressure up.
Hey, look, Paul, in my house, the shrimp is the enemy of the people. That's what I call it. I ate some shrimp one time and got food poisoning. So from that moment on, shrimp has been the enemy of the people. I don't eat it.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's just a personal thing. But again, you see what I'm saying? You can have your little. My point is that we don't mind people having their personal idiosyncrasies of what they don't like. We all understand that. But we all understand the fact that when you look around in this economy, who are the losers? It's not white men, it's us. We're the losers. We're the losers economically. We're the losers in the way we've been treated by the police. We're the losers in the way that we've been educated. We're the losers in the way that the judicial system has treated us. We're the losers. We're the designated losers. And if we wanted to stop that, we have to go and say to the people and demand that the game stop, because we tired of losing. Can't be tired of losing just to the cops and then let them still miseducate your kids by spending $28,000 a year, and they can't even, or they won't even buy each kid a goddamn Chromebook or a stupid ass iPad. $28,000 a year, and they won't even do that, because they could do it if they wanted to, but they won't. You can't have a system where they take the economic money from everybody in the city and decide that the people who only make up 26% of the population, they're going to do all of the winning and all of the controlling. You wouldn't allow that in your family. You wouldn't let one person in your family decide who's going to spend all your money, Bob, and neither would I. So we just got to come to grips with what's being done, what the game is. And once you realize what the game is, then you can go to the people and say, we ain't playing no more. We ain't playing like that no more. You ain't taking the money up on everybody, you're just using it for yourself.
So I got one last question before I get out of here. So what do y'all think about this Christopher Columbus statue at Columbus Circle?
Well, he didn't discover America like they told us in the books, because the Indians was already here. So
Nah, I didn't ask you about what you thought about Christopher Columbus. I already know that. But we have a statue there.
Take it down.
What did he need a statue for? Get a statue.
Our governor has assigned police to protect that statue. While every other statue is getting ripped down.
Take him down. Why don't you take him down? Maybe he need to get out of here.
Well,
get him out of here.
I think he's going to have to contend with the fact that sooner or later, Christopher Columbus statue is coming down. So
maybe they should get rid of him too.
Oh, Cuomo?
Hey,
that's obviously
hey,
that's a
hey, I'm just saying that, there ain't no guarantee in anything. Just don't everybody. Look how long him and his family been winning. Why they got to keep winning? Let them stop. Let them stand on the side. Let somebody else win.
Okay.
I ain't mad at that. He had a lot of. His dad was in there. Now he's in there. Come on, man. What's that? What's that all about? His father built more prisons than any governor in the history of the United States. Did you know that, Bob?
I did not know that.
Hey, Bob. It's on the Google machine.
I can't Google everything, man.
I know. Hey, Bob, that's why you got to have a team. Some people looking at
I know. Listen,
other
man.
people look at other stuff, and then you share it and say, "Hey, guys, what does everybody think?" Because even in basketball, Bob, they have a scouting report.
Yes.
You go and say, "Okay, what is the other guys doing?" So people can consider this a scouting report. What is the other team? What are the other people doing? How can we beat? And what kind of way can we have a chance to win? You have to have a scouting report. You have to go know what they're doing. Then you have to come back and report to the team. That's why you have scouts. This is the scouting report. Here's what's going on. And then people can decide.
Do you have any other analogies that are not basketball analogies?
I have prison ones, and I don't like to talk about that. I don't like to talk about the big house that much anymore. Even though it's been 40-something years, I don't like to talk about the big house. But I'll say this about the big house. It'll straighten you out if you're crooked.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Well, I'm gonna buy you.
Everything up here, guys?
I'm gonna buy you a tennis racket so you can get some tennis analogies, and maybe we'll get you to play with former Mayor Dinkins.
I tried that, Bob. I'm not that good at that. I'm not coordinated.
Oh, okay. So you're coordinated enough to throw a ball into a hoop, but you're not coordinated enough to hit a smaller ball across a net. I don't know.
How about that, Bob? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't believe it, but
yeah, that's all right. I played tennis and I go on ice up. I played basketball going, I'm a killer. So there you go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, man. So I'm good, Bob, man. Hey, Bob, first of all, thanks a lot for, again, having a thoughtful perspective, particularly against some of the shenanigans that I have been bombarding and annoying Stu with for all these years. It's nice to have somebody else to talk to who's intelligent, who has a mind of their own to talk about.
Well, I also feel it's, look, the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. And we have a unique opportunity to be able to use it, and we've created these platforms, and these platforms are now more important than ever because you can see that there's a fastest playbook that's already in effect. It's already having effects. We're also seeing now that there's pushback, but the pushbacks can only be facilitated by our proper use of our First Amendment platform to get truth out there. And truth is very, very elusive now, especially in an age where there is a deluge of information. It's number one, it's easy to lose the truth. The truth can lose just by not having enough of it, and then you have so much misinformation. So, what we do every Monday morning here, every Wednesday morning, we do it for HEN. We have our various radio platforms, Stu and I, and the regular broadcasting that you do there at Grand Houses. These are not inconsequential things we're doing. They're extremely important. The fact that we can connect networks together. This year we have not even gotten to the halfway point in 2020, and the biggest issues that we face this year are still to come. And we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of an economic crisis, and we're in the middle of societal upheaval on a global level. So we have to continue to use these platforms to ground people, because there's so much going on. It's hard to keep your balance when every day we're literally assaulted with more information about another assault, and understand that the microaggressions are just as much a part of it as things that are done to trigger us. When the president decides to hold a rally at Tulsa on Juneteenth, that's not an accident. And please don't tell me, oh, he didn't know. He absolutely knew. Just like when he plans to pull back on trans healthcare rights, he does it on the anniversary of the nightclub massacre. These things are, somebody is scripting this. I suspect it's Miller, and so we have to also understand that a lot of the indignities that we're facing are intentional triggers, and they're meant to set us off. That's why I say pull the blood pressure back. And it's not, I am never saying don't be angry. As James Baldwin said, it's literally impossible, and I'm paraphrasing, it's impossible to be Black in America and not be in a rage all the time. But I feel that it's really important that we control it and recognize when somebody is trying to trigger us and discern what is their purpose for trying to trigger us. Because a lot of times we can, if you withhold the reaction that they want and react in a different way, it's like they're expecting a fastball, we got to throw the curveball. So it's really important that we use these platforms not only to discern and disseminate truth, but we also have to use it so we can kind of think through what are our strategies? Because we've got to develop these strategies in real time. We don't have time to spend a whole lot of time pontificating. We got to actually take the information we know and say, okay, now that conditions are changed, what's the play that we're going to call right now? And it may not have been the play that we would have called 10 minutes ago, but now we're facing different conditions. So, so collectively, I don't think any of us have an answer, but I think we have a lot of the right questions. We have a lot of the right information. And I think that we just have to continue to be consistent with these platforms and attracting people. Even if we only get a handful of people who listen, it only takes a handful of committed people with a plan to change virtually anything. So, I'm happy to be here on Monday morning with you guys. And I think we have to continue to have some conversations on how we can up the stakes and raise the ante from our side, because we do have, there's something happening. We're in the middle of a moment, and we have to recognize that and seize the opportunity. And I'll use that from the great Bobby Seale, seize the time. And that's all I got to say.
Hey, wrap it up, Phil.
Well said, Bob. Thank you for acknowledging, I think what we know, but saying it, how important these platforms are and how important independent voices are. And, for us to be able to utilize this technology that's out there and available to all of us to help inform and help mobilize. And I just want to focus as we sign off. This is one of the things that you talked about, Bob, and that is as we begin to look at the time and the opportunities that we have to demand things, we need to really focus on what those demands are, what it is that we want to happen, and what it is we want from the system, very specifically and very concretely. So with that, I want to say thank you, Bob, for your insights. Thank you, Doug, for putting this platform together and bringing this whole show together.
My pleasure, Stu. And since Bob is not going to say it this week, I'm gonna say
you got it.
I'm just gonna say it, Bob. And as Bob said, if you tune in next week on this show or any of the shows that Bob mentioned, you just might learn something, man. I'm gonna thank everybody for tuning in, and God bless everybody and their families. I hope everybody stays safe. And thank you so much, Bob, for being a part of that and your continued support.
All right, guys.
Okay. Right. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
And by the way, just for the people, I forgot to put this on the YouTube because I forgot to push a button. But I will take the Facebook feed and send it up on YouTube to get it done.
Excellent. All right.
My bad. Just noticed I forgot to push one button. It wouldn't work. But I figured out. All right, Stu. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any minute. Calling for a radio check. Over. Any unit. This is Lenore 1, calling for a radio check. Over. Any unit. This is Lenore 1, calling for a radio check. Over. It is 08:18 hours, and the Harlem Information and Emergency Network is not online until 1000 hours. This is Lenore 1, now as acting NCO. Lenore 1 as acting NCO, standing by at 0819 hours. Over.
Any unit for a radio check, over.
This is Lenore 1 as acting NCO. I hear you loud and clear. Over.
This is Sun One. I hear you loud and clear. The Sun One now, standing in as network control operator. Time is now 0820. Thank you for that radio check. This network control standing by.
Network control. This is Benoit One calling for a radio check. Over.
Benoit One, network control. Read you loud and clear. How do you read network control? Over.
I read network control 5x5. My location is Fishkill, New York, and my situation is safe. And I definitely want to thank network control for taking over. I really appreciate it. Over.
That's a 10-4. You're in Fishkill, New York. Your situation is safe, and you're welcome.
This is Hen 1 calling for a radio check. Over. Hen 1 calling for a radio check. Over. This is Hen 1 calling NCO for a radio check. Over.
Hen 1, network control. Read you loud and clear. How do you read network control? Over.
Network control, I read you loud and clear. Location is 133rd and 7th. Condition is normal. Over.
Your condition is normal. You're located at 133rd and 7th. Took me a while to get to you because I had both the radio and the phone at the same place, and I was answering on the radio. All right. This network control standing by.
N1 out.
Harlem Emergency Network, this is 1028. How do you read me? Over.
1028. Network control reads you loud and clear. How do you read network control? Over.
Network control, I read you 5x5. Over.
What is your location and your situation? Over.
Our location is 59th and Western Avenue. My situation is normal. My status is safe. Over.
Your location is 59th and Western Avenue. Your status is normal and safe. Have a great day at 0901. This is WQKJ 301, Harlem Information and Emergency Network. Stand by for the message for the day.
Likewise, NCO, have a blessed day, and I'll be standing by until the 1000 hour.
Message for today. Today is June 15th, 2020. Time is now 0902. Today is partly sunny. Temperature is 65 degrees, expected to go to 74 degrees. Visibility is 10 miles an hour. Humidity is 51%. Tuesday meeting, 2100 meeting is on as usual. And Wednesday amateur radio class at 1800 is on. Harlem WEBT after action report is now on YouTube. You put in WEBT after action report 6.15.20. That's WEBT after action report 6.15.20. And that's on from 9 to 11. And tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:30, Harlem Emergency Network is on Facebook. So that's facebook.com, Harlem Emergency Network, 9:30. This is the end of the message for today. This is network control standing by.
Good morning. This is Co-Ed 1 calling for radio check. Co-Ed 1 calling network control for radio check. Over.
Co-Ed 1, network control, reads you loud and clear. How do you read network control? Over.
Co-Ed 1, reach network control loud and clear. My location is 109th Street and 1st Avenue. My situation is safe and normal. Over.
Situation is safe and normal. You're located at 109th Street and First Avenue. Have a great day. This is Network Control standing by.
That's a copy. Are we getting the morning updates? Over.
The message of the day, just the normal message of the day, and what's included with the programs that we have on the air. I have no co-ed updates. Over.
All right, that's a copy. Have a great day. Co-ed 1, out.
Network Control standing by. W. Harlem Emergency Network. Time is now 09:30. Message for the day is today, June 15th. Temperature 66 degrees. Mostly sunny. A high today is 74 degrees. Visibility is 10 miles an hour. Tuesday, 2100 meeting is on. Wednesday, amateur radio class. 1800 is on. Today, WEBT After Action report. It's on YouTube. That's WEBT After Action at 6.15.20. That's WEBT After Action report on YouTube. It's WEBT After Action report 6.15.20. Harlem Emergency Network is on Facebook and YouTube tomorrow morning at 9:30. So that's the facebook.com Harlem Emergency Network. That's 9:30 tomorrow, Wednesday, June 16th. This is, time is now 09:32. This is Network Control standing by.
Network Control, this is Benoit 1 calling for a radio check.
Benoit 1, Network Control, read you loud and clear. How do you read Network Control? Over.
Until I read you 5 by 5, my location is Fishkill, New York, and my situation is safe. I will be standing by until after the 1000th hour. Over.
You're located in Fishkill, New York. Your situation is safe. You'll be standing by until after the 10 o'clock hour. That's Network Control understands and is standing by until 10 o'clock.
Network Control, this is WEBT Unit 2 calling for a radio check. Come in, Kay.
WEBT 2. Network Control, read you loud and clear. How do you read Network Control? Over.
Network Control, WEBT Unit 2 reads you loud and clear, 5 by 5. Current location, New Rochelle, New York. Condition safe and sound. Over.
Current condition safe and sound, located in New Rochelle, New York. Network Control is having a little trouble finding the program. Can you help us? Over.
Network Control, you're talking about the online stream that's happening right now? Over.
That's affirmative. Over.
Yeah, let me check. I just got back to my workstation. I will check back with you in just a few moments. Over.
Yeah, that's affirmative. Yeah, I'm on YouTube and I can't seem to pick it up. Over.
Good copy. I will check.